Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
All right, we're welcome back on a Football Friday, hour 2 for Landmark Cinema. In Landmark Cinema is now Fight or Flight, starring Josh Hartnett, Katie Sackhoff, and Julian Kostov. Fight or Flight in Landmark Cinemas now. Check it out this weekend. You're not going to have a lot of weekends left because it's going to be taken up with CFL football. The CFL on TSN's Jim Barker joins us. And, Jim, we've got questions from the viewers right out of the chute. Before I get to those, what's on your mind? Yeah, what's on your mind today as we haven't talked in a week?
Well, I went to camps. I went to all the camps of all the East teams but Montreal. I saw Ottawa yesterday, and I saw Toronto, and I saw Hamilton twice. And they're coming along well. And you're right about cuts this time of year. You get the occasional Noah Zur and Dayton Black, guys who are first-round draft picks that are getting cut now. And those are kind of notable to me, as, being a draft guy and loving the CFL. But for the most part, these guys are guys you'll never hear about again and probably never heard of before. So it doesn't, as big of a football guy as I am, the cuts now, I always look at them like you, but they just don't do anything for me.
It's kind of funny, though, because what hasn't changed is the second round, though. That's what just got to hit and refresh. That's different. That you're going to see some names on the second wave, and that comes like after the first or second game, right?
Yeah. Usually, the next cut will be the last cut. I don't think they have another one. I think the next cut is after the second free, because we got the first game is Monday, and then there's 4 games on Saturday, the 24th, and then the 23rd. And then 4 more games of following Saturday. It might be 2 on a Friday. I don't know. It all happens the next 2 weeks, and then it's all over. And they'll make their cuts after on the 31st on Memorial Day. It'll be Memorial Day for a lot of guys. Will be memories up here, on that day. And it's the toughest day to be a GM is that last cut day. There's nothing tougher, and you just don't get enough time with 2 preseason games to really evaluate players. And there's a lot of good players that get let go that, they go on and they go about their lives and probably would have been good enough, but just couldn't get the kind of opportunity, up here. So, it was fun to watch these teams practicing and guys that were in the draft, watching Keelan White yesterday. His dad played in Saskatchewan for 5 years. So again, he's watching him play and watch his game that I'd been watching on film at Montana. I touted him as the best guy in the draft, and then watching it transfer to the field. He was actually in with the starting group because Nick Martiner was out with an injury. So that kind of stuff is fun for me. Watching what Scott Milanovich is trying to do with Bo Levi Mitchell. And, Bo Levi was as good as I've ever seen him on Monday. But he threw 2 balls that got intercepted, and at the end of practice, Scott just lit into him. And when you can go after your best player when he has a great day, but you can go over and say, hey, this is not about anything but winning, and we don't turn the ball over. We cannot turn the ball over. You did great last year. You had a lot of yards. You had a lot of touchdowns, but you threw too many interceptions. So he was able to make a point. So I like watching those kinds of things. And then Toronto. They're just a completely different football team. I know you picked them for 13 wins. Chad Kelly's still not practiced or didn't practice when I was there. And again, I'm going to be surprised if he's not starting the season on the 6th game. He may not last there, but I think he might start there. But they're just totally different. They basically brought in 3 defensive linemen that Corey Mace, who is a defensive line guy, let go of in Saskatchewan. In DeMarcus Christmas and Anthony Lanier and Cox, those are 3 guys that started for Saskatchewan in the last 2 years. They're now Toronto's starting defensive line. That's a little scary. That those guys, they have Jordan Williams, a young guy who's got 1 year in the league, but the experienced guys are these 3 Saskatchewan players. So that's a little scary to me, I think, because I think you always start, as I always believe, defensive line and offensive line is where it starts and ends in a lot of cases. Mike Holmgren, when he was with the Packers, he told me until I got Reggie White, I couldn't win a Super Bowl. And then he gets Reggie White, and boom, they win the Super Bowl that first year. He said that's how important having a great defensive line is. So, again, that's my problem with Toronto. But, it's fun to watch them. Montreal scrimmaging tomorrow. All the teams are scrimmaging this. 3 of them are on Saturday, and then Hamilton is actually scrimmaging 7 o'clock Sunday evening in Tim Hortons. So, it'll be a great thing for fans to come out on a Sunday evening and watch their team, scrimmaging. So, yeah, it's getting close. It's getting close.
Yeah, well, I'm enjoying the coverage. A couple things on what you just said. Number one, those guys were studs in Sask. So I think they were anyways. And I am a big fan of Nick Fatty Arbuckle. Maybe you forgot. He was the MVP of the Grey Cup. So I don't care that Chad Kelly's not there. They might be better off. Our VP of Scouting, Craig Smith, writes in. He says, it was excellent seeing you, Jim, at the Combine. Reminisced about our travels. Thanks for coming over. This is Craig Smith. He says, Keelan White is a stud. You said his dad played for the Riders. I have to apologize. I don't know. Is it George White, Marcus White? Which one of the Whites? Do you know who his dad was?
You know what? He told me his name, and I don't remember it. But then he got traded to BC. He said he played 6 years in the CFL. So I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure what. I forgot the first name, and that's on me. That's my
Smitty.
Right.
Smitty will probably.
Yeah, Craig will know. Craig knows everything. Craig was one of the first guys I met when I got into the front office stuff. We were down in Texas, and he and Kathy were there, and I didn't know anybody at that time. And they took me out to dinner, and they just kind of showed me the ropes of being a scout, because I had never scouted before. So I owe a lot of what I do to Craig Smith. He's just a great man, and it's, getting to see him in Regina was one of the best parts of the whole thing, was getting a chance to reminisce with both he and Kathy.
Oh, yeah. They probably taught you how to get free lunches and free dinners and all that, all the tricks of the scouting trade.
You know it.
Hey, I caught you. Oh, well, my dad was a scout. So listen, it's a code they have. I cut you off. You said I was right. How could I cut you after you started saying that? I cut you off. I can't cut you off when you say something as brilliant as that. What was I right about?
Yeah.
You remember?
You were right. Those guys played well. Why did Corey Mace let them go? Who knows?
I don't know.
Who knows? But all 3 of them were gone. And that always makes me suspect, because when you're talking about a D-line head coach and you're talking about you have D-line you think you can win with, you're going to pay those guys. I mean, we paid. He had Flo in Calgary, and when he got there, we got to get Flo. So we went out and paid and got Flo, and he was everything he was billed to be. So when Corey, and again, it may be nothing. It may be those guys just wanted to leave, or I don't know. But when Corey Mace lets guys play in that position get away, I say there's alarm bells to me. Again, that's the GM in me. I always wonder why are these guys? Why are we able to get these guys for whatever? So are they guys that went out and paid top dollar? I doubt that. So
yeah, interesting. We gotta get some time this summer and talk about it more, because I don't get into the personnel thing. I just play it on TV, So it's so transient now. Reinbold talked about it on this show the other day. College, pro, whatever. It's new guys every year at every position, largely, and nobody seems to be that worried about it.
This isn't as bad as what the NCAA is going to be now. I mean, the NCAA is every year you seem to have, although I think it's going to slow down. I think there's a lot of guys who got trapped in the funnel, or whatever they call it. There's a lot of guys who got trapped in that thing and couldn't get jobs, couldn't find places to play, and are now, they've lost their scholarships. And so, again, I think that the portal is the thing that, it had a big rush the last couple of years, but you talk about mobility. See, I don't see as much mobility in the CFL. I see some, but it doesn't seem to me, but as what you talk about. It just doesn't. The good players seem to stay, for the most part, wherever they've been. I mean, I look at the different different teams in the league. And, I go to Ottawa and, Justin Hardy's still there. They still have a lot of their key pieces. They went and got Drew Brown last year, and now he's still there. I mean, he's their guy. Nathan Rourke is going to be in BC for who knows how long. I see Wynton McManus in Toronto. People made a run at him, but they kept him. And when you have players, sometimes you're going to lose good players. Robbie Smith was a case of, Toronto was paying him to be what he is. I think the best special teams player who can give you 15 to 20 rushes a game. Well, now he's making more money than any other defensive lineman in the league. And so he's going to have to play more defensive line, means he's going to lose his effectiveness as a special teams player, in my mind. So, again, they lost him to money, and that's going to happen occasionally. But, again, I just don't see that happening as much. When you have a cap, there's only so much you can pay these guys. And, you have Eugene Lewis who, he got paid big dollars. Some of these receivers get paid big dollars. They go there, and then the teams find out, well, maybe we shouldn't have paid that, or maybe that was too much for us. We want to put our money elsewhere. Or they have, like they had in Edmonton, a changeover in general manager, which means a changeover in philosophy and those kind of things. New head coach, changeover in philosophy. And in BC, Buck comes in, he makes Mike Benavides a defensive coordinator. There's now players that were there that may not be there now because they don't fit what Mike Benavides wants. So those kind of changes are going to happen. But I don't see the huge turnover you see. I see the good Roland Milligan, great young player with Saskatchewan. He's now been only one place, Saskatchewan. I think of Roland Milligan, I think of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. You think of the guys who left. Yeah. Amari Henderson I saw yesterday in Ottawa, but he's not a guy you think about when you think of Saskatchewan. I don't know. That's just me.
No, but they're all one-year deals now. So you can keep your guy every year, but he's now free to leave, right? So, yeah. And you say there's the cap, 2 words, marketing money, which I never even heard of until Nathan Rourke dropped out of the sky last year. So, by the way, just on the portal, I don't understand, and I don't know how long you're going to be in this media thing, if you're going to go back to the football side of media, but I don't know why things get reported and others don't. And so on the portal, that quarterback from Tennessee that left, Nico Iamaleava.
Yeah, went to
right?
UCLA.
He was getting $2.4 million. Right. $2.4 million he was getting in Tennessee. Did you hear what he got at UCLA? Because I heard it here from the college guy.
$8 million?
But
was it 8?
Less than $1 million. Less than $1 million, I heard. He went for a haircut. Yes.
Good.
It blew up on him.
That's good. Yeah.
Well, but he lost money on the deal. He thought he was going to get 4 or more. David in Winnipeg.
Going to get up there, yeah.
That's what he wanted. It's not what he got. David, number 1 in Winnipeg, writes in. He says, I would like to get Coach Barker's thoughts on the CFL rules that were tweaked yesterday. Personally, I like that the major penalty was changed and or removed. I didn't see anything. That's on me. What did they announce yesterday?
The major things, the major differences, and again, I'm school's still out on this one. So if say the ball's on the 12-yard line going in, or on the 15-yard line or 20-yard line going in, and you get a major penalty, a roughing the passer, that ball's going to go all the way to the 1-yard line. It's not going to be there's no more half the distance to the goal on major penalties. So the ball's going to go all the way to the 1-yard line. Again, is that too much? It's kind of like pass interference. They can be 40-yard penalties and just totally game-changing. And with and they also tightened up and now if you hit a quarterback, they can make it a 25-yard penalty if you hit him below the knees or any kind of slap to the head is a 25-yard penalty. And this one is going to be interesting to watch because Chris Jones isn't in the league, but Chris Jones used to teach for his DBs who are not as big as some of these receivers to go in and just take out the legs of a wide receiver. Well, that's now going to be illegal. If you hit a guy below the knees, a receiver who is just catching the ball and getting ready to go, and you come in and take his knees out, like you see a lot on the screen passes, that's going to be a major penalty now. I think that's going to be one that's going to be looked at as, well, was that below the knee and that kind of thing. I think it's going to be scrutinized again. And the other one that I thought was the major one was moving the ball to the 1 yard line, no more half the distance on major penalties. So,
gotcha. I don't know. I didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't get a news release on that at all. I didn't even know about it. By the way, I just looked this up. Number one, Craig says Keelan White's dad is Richard White. Played at SFU and the Rough Riders in the 80s. He goes, honestly, I don't remember him. And if Craig doesn't remember him, that's saying something. But that was before my time in Saskatchewan. By the way, I did a quick lookup. Nico Iamaleva's NIL deal is $1.5 million per year at UCLA. You can look it up if you don't believe me.
So he lost almost $1 million.
Lost almost $1 million. So Utah Darren is watching. Darren Workman in Utah says, Nico chose poorly. That was what they were saying around here. Nice kid, bad advice. Getting bad advice.
Well, his dad was his advisor. And a lot of these guys now are getting agents at young ages. And but his was his dad. And who knows? Maybe the mother wanted him closer to home, or who knows what goes into those things. And is it worth $1 million to be able to be near your mother? Maybe it is. You never know why people do what they do.
No, it would be to me. Okay. Ash is checking in, our mutual friend Ash from West Palm Beach. Last question. He goes, can you please ask Jim his opinion on expansion in Canada and the USA? For Ash.
Well, you and I talked about this 2 weeks ago, I think, Rod. And I don't think the whole key is increase franchise values. That's the whole key to what the CFL has not done, that the NFL has done. And we can talk about TV, we can talk about all that, but how can they increase values? I think getting a 10th team in Canada is important, but I think eventually, again, to not learn from what happened the first time in the U.S., I think expansion is key. And whether it be in the U.S. or maybe even England, King Charles at the Pope's thing, he said, I'm not just the king of England, I'm also the king of Canada. So let's throw some CFL teams in England and open it up to teach the 3-down game to Europe, where it's closer to rugby, it's closer to soccer, it's closer to all those things than the 4-down game, which was a derivative of the Canadian game, which started before. And England should take pride in that because, if the king is our king too, then I guess we're all in the same. And I am a Canadian citizen, by the way. You said I'm an American, but I am an American, but I'm also a Canadian. So proud of both. But anyway, I think expansion has to happen to increase the franchise values because of all the new ways streaming. And we talked about Stu Johnson and why he's there. I think he's a genius in this stuff in terms of how to get the dollar amounts of the streaming and the rights and get the games across the U.S. in addition to across Canada and potentially into Europe. I think that's to think big, as I like to do. I think getting it to Europe is also an interesting concept.
Yeah. King Charles say he was a Rider fan?
He didn't, and he was not wearing green. He was not wearing green.
We got to ship him something. That's what we do. Okay, Jim. Thank you. Have a great weekend.
All right.
Enjoy the football.
See you next week. All right.
I know the Pope's a Rider. Fan. We just got to work on King Charles. We'll be right back. It's a Football Friday Game Plus, streaming live and podcasting wherever the best podcasts are found.